Your life as an American spy in North Korea. Level 1. The Diplomat. You're 31 years old. You're standing in front of a window on the 4th floor of the North Korean mission to the United Nations in Geneva. Outside, it's raining. The streets are clean. People walk with umbrellas and stop at coffee shops and sit in restaurants visible through glass windows and live in ways that you have spent your entire life being told are hollow and corrupt and meaningless. They don't look hollow. They look warm. You've been in Geneva for 8 months, Second Secretary, Trade Division. Your job is to attend meetings, translate documents, report back to Pyongyang on economic discussions that nobody in Pyongyang will actually read. Mid-level work for a mid-level diplomat. You were selected because your French is good and your record is clean, and you've never given anyone a reason to doubt you. You haven't given anyone a reason to doubt you because there was never anything to doubt. You believed. Completely, genuinely. The way you can only believe something you've never been given reason to question. The marshal, the state, the mission, the superiority of the Korean way. You believed all of it the way you breathed, without thinking about it. Geneva made you start thinking about it. It wasn't one thing, it was accumulation. The newspapers that criticized the government and nothing happened. The protest outside the WTO building where people shouted at police and the police just stood there. The supermarket where you went once with a colleague and stood in the cereal aisle for 4 minutes, unable to process the number of choices. The colleague from the South Korean mission who nodded at you in a corridor and kept walking, and you both understood that you were the same people from the same place, living in completely different worlds separated by a line neither of you drew. You think about your wife in Pyongyang, your daughter who is 4, your parents, the apartment that the state provided, the life that the state provided, the thoughts that the state provided. You look out the window at the rain and the warm restaurants and the people with umbrellas making their own small choices, and you feel something shifting in you that you don't have a name for yet. You turn away from the window. You go back to your desk. You translate a document about agricultural equipment tariffs. But you keep thinking. Level 2, the approach. His name is David. That's probably not his real name. You meet him at a reception hosted by the Swiss Foreign Ministry. These events happen regularly. Diplomats from various missions, some NGO representatives, UN staff. You attend because attendance is required, and you stand near the food and speak to people carefully and say nothing of substance and leave after the minimum acceptable time. David approaches you near the end, American, late 40s, relaxed in the way of someone who has spent decades being relaxed in rooms like this. He works for the State Department, he says. Trade policy. He asks about your impressions of Geneva. You give a careful answer. He nods and asks a follow-up question that's slightly more personal. You give a slightly less careful answer. He smiles and excuses himself. That's all. 3 weeks later, he's at another event. He finds you again. Longer conversation this time. He asks about Korean cuisine. He asks if you miss home. He asks what surprised you most about Switzerland. The questions are ordinary. The attention behind them is not ordinary. You know what he is. You're not stupid. He knows you know. Over the next 2 months, you have 4 more conversations, always at official events, always observable, always deniable. He never says anything that couldn't be said to anyone. He's building something slowly and carefully, and you both understand what's being built without either of you naming it. One evening he says he'd like to have coffee sometime. Just coffee. You say you'll think about it. You think about it for 3 weeks. You say yes. Level 3, the decision. The coffee becomes a walk. The walk becomes several walks, always in public, always somewhere with people around. He's careful. You're careful.